want to hear from Delegate Keem and to tell you that when we testified before the Commerce and Labor Committee on the Ban the Box, Delegate Keem got up and made the most powerful, emotional speech about being partisan. And there's no reason to be partisan on the Ban the Box. Everybody should support it. Then they called for a vote, and minority screamed yes. They outshouted 7 to 15. They outshouted the 15.
Yeah, unfortunately, voice votes don't count in
But
that matter. They should record that one.
Thank you for clarifying that, Delegate. Go ahead.
Sure. First of all, thank you, John, for inviting me. Thank you.
He was absolutely great in his statement.
Thank you.
It's a long time since I've heard anything like it. It was incredible.
Thank you to Bob and to everybody else on the SALT leadership for hosting this. I apologize for being a little late. I had to be at an Eagle Scout event for 3 of my constituents up at the other side of my district. Amazing volunteers. So very, very proud to see those 3 young men moving on to bigger and better things as they progress. But I also wanted to recognize some of my colleagues who are here today and thank all of them for their action. I know some of our new members like Jennifer Boysko and Paul Krizak and a few others, and Mark Levine here, and I can't see it, but others have been an incredible addition to our team down in the General Assembly, and we're really excited to have them. Kathleen, of course, is now entrenched incumbent, so it's great to see all of you.
Entrenched.
Back when I first ran for office, my district included this building in 2010, and back then it was a State Farm, I think like a customer service office. I used to come here for town hall meetings. After redistricting, I think now it's David Bulova, right? This is yours, right? And so I lost this part of Lee Highway, but I still have the wagons across the street, so I'm in good shape. But anyway, I want to thank SALT and all of you for making time on a busy weekend to come out and listen to us. The nice thing about coming in and speaking toward the very end of the program is I'm sure everything that you need to know so far has been heard, and we've heard it multiple times from different folks who've done the actual work, and so I have no reason to take credit for anything other than just being part of this and associating myself with my great colleagues on both sides of the aisle, I'll say. Well, I've had 5 bills passed this year that the governor has signed into law, and a number of other bills that I was very pleased to be a chief co-patron. Just looking at the dais here, Jim Lemunian and I worked on a bill that would provide for the first time in the code an actual enforcement mechanism for when your class sizes become too large. Under the state law, there are limits already on class size. You talked about this already, I see, right?
No.
Wow. All right, well, let me fill in the blanks then. And so under the state code already, there are limits on the size of your classes for our kids and our grandkids who go to school. And yet, if a classroom violates that rule, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. There's just no mechanism. So Jim Lemunian and I put together a bill this year that would actually require that the schools do something about that. So that's something. Right next to him, Delegate Vivian Watts, my mentor and a wonderful leader in our General Assembly, passed a bill that frankly didn't come to many of our attention. But this is one of those areas where having people who not only understand the communities that are not traditional, meaning that people who might not be familiar with English language or might not be familiar with the way the American system works, people like me who grew up as an immigrant, obviously I'm more sympathetic to those issues, but having members of the General Assembly who have constituencies and who understand their concerns in a way as if they themselves would experience the lack of English ability and such is such a tremendous asset to us, and that's something that Delegate Vivian Watts did this year. She carried a bill that I was chief co-patron for that would provide another way for a voter who walks into a polling booth to be able to articulate that in fact they are themselves. As you know, we've passed a gazillion photo ID bills, which I think are illegal, but that's the law now. So we passed photo ID laws, and yet under the law, you still have to say, by the way, my name is Mark Kim, I live at whatever address, and I'm here in person to vote. And so it's so redundant. You're giving a picture ID, which is already discriminatory, and yet you have to force yourself to speak. Now, if you don't speak English, or if you have some hard of hearing, or if you have some disability that doesn't allow you to speak, or your words can't speak, or maybe you're just nervous because you're sitting in front of a bunch of election judges, then they might challenge that to say, well, that person didn't say their name and address, and therefore that person really shouldn't be allowed to vote. So that was another small obstacle that some people in the minority communities that don't speak English well were starting to face. And so Vivian took the leadership and passed it unanimously. It was the first time that I remember a bill that actually allows for more people to vote in a more easier way, passing unanimously. It's thanks to the leadership of Delegate Watson. She did such a good job that the chairman of the Republican caucus, Tim Hugo, signed on as a patriot as well. So that was a very good accomplishment on behalf of our causes. And again, I just want to thank Saul for all you've done. John mentioned the ban-the-box issue. We have half comfort now in that the governor has signed into an executive order protections for not having to require that your criminal background be listed on your application for limited purposes of state jobs. But for everything else, it's still the law is the law is the law. And so I know Delegate Pat Hope has worked on this for many, many years, and many of us here have been actively supporting it. And unfortunately, we didn't get as far as we'd like this year, but what we did get out of the hearing and the fact that John and Bob and many others came down to Richmond to testify in the Commerce Committee, what we got on the record was members on the other side like Noli Lupasi and a few others who said on the record, listen, right now the executive order is in place, so at least we have some protections. If the next governor comes in and repeals that, I'll be the first guy out there to introduce a bill that would make sure that this becomes a law. But since we have an executive order, let's not have it in code as well. Now, again, that's you got to take half the loaf while you can. But we saw and we heard Republican members on the record saying that they would support it if the executive order was repealed. And so as a result of that, we have some assurance that we're heading in the right direction in the Commonwealth as far as not only ban-the-box itself, but prison reentry issues, which I know many of you are passionately about. And so I just want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for giving us the moral support and all the prayers and everything that you all provide us when we're down in the General Assembly, and for us to have a chance to tell you what's going on so that as we prepare for the 2017 session, we have more work that we can actually get done. And going down there, we hope that we can accomplish a lot more with your support. So thank you, and God bless all of you.